Today we're going to be reviewing a little bit more with radicals where we have a radical in the denominator, but it's being added or subtracted from another number. So this one's a little bit more complicated. What we have to do is we have to multiply by what we call the conjugate. So the conjugate of this is the same number on the top and bottom, but it's the same number 6, opposite sign, and then exact same radical. So 6 plus root 3. Again, we do that, and you'll see why in a minute when we multiply through. But our whole goal is to get the radical out of the denominator. So when I do this, 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times root 3 is 8 root 3. Now what we have to do is we have to do a FOIL. And I'm going to do that over here to the side because I have some room. So we do first terms together. Outer terms together. I wanted that in a different color. Outer terms together. Inner terms together. And our last terms together. So minus root 9. So notice what happens. Those cancel. And I have 36 minus root 9, which is 3. 36 minus 3 is 33. So I have a 33 on the bottom. Now you want to see, is there a number that goes into 48, 8, and 33? So 48 and 8 have a lot of different numbers that go into them. I look at the 33, and really I have the numbers 3 and 11, and 1 times 33, and neither of those factors go into both 48 and 18, and same thing here. So we can't simplify anymore. We'll do one, don't worry, where we have to simplify. Okay, the next one. So here, this one's a little bit more complicated. So again, you want to make sure you are multiplying the same thing on the top and the bottom. 3 minus 3 root 2. 3 minus 3 root 2. Okay, so same number in the front, same number as the last term, and just all that's different is one's a plus, one's a minus. Okay, so now multiplying this out. 5 times 3 is 15, minus 5 times that 3 is also a 15, root 2. Now, again, I'm going to do this up over to the side. So that we have a little bit more space to work. Okay, first terms together. 9. Outer terms together. 3 times 3 is a 9 root 2. I can only multiply numbers if they're outside together. Inner terms together. 3 times 3 is 9 root 2. And then the last terms together, minus 3 times 3 is a 9 times by a root 4. Because root 2 times root 2 is root 4. Now again, notice the middle terms go away. So that makes our life a whole lot easier. So now what we have is we have 9 minus 9 times 2. That's really 9 times 2, which is an 18. That ends up being a negative 9. So now, is there a number that goes into 15, 15, and 9? Yes. Actually, I don't like to write in red. I like to write in blue. 3 goes into each. So if I reduce both the 15, and the negative 9 each by 3, I get a 5 minus 5 root 2 over 9 divided by 3 is a negative 3. So now you can leave it like that if you want. Makes me cringe a little bit. I wish you could see my face. But what you could do is you could multiply by a negative 1 over a negative 1 to get that negative out of the denominator, which then turns this negative 5 root 2 term into a positive 5 root 2 term. It turns this 5 term into a negative 5 over a 3. It just looks a little bit better. I'm not huge if you don't do that, but it just, you want to make sure that you understand how mathematicians like to look at things. Okay, our next example. So again, another one where we have to multiply. Same thing on the top and bottom. So 2 is the same number, opposite sign, 4 root 5. And it has to be the same thing on the top and the bottom. So 5 being multiplied to the 2 is a 10, plus 5 being multiplied to the 4 is a 20, root 2. So then if I do, again, because we're kind of new to this, maybe you saw this last year, I'm hoping you did. So we multiply first terms together. Multiply them together correctly. I almost had that as a 2. Outer terms together. You know these are going to cancel. This is why we multiply by what we call the conjugate. Oh, I did that wrong. I did that swirl wrong. Outside terms, inside terms. I was wondering why it didn't cancel. And then our last terms is a negative. 4 times 4 is 16. Root 5 times root 5, remember, simplifies to be a 5. So I'm not showing all the steps that I need to now. So I have 4 minus, let's say 4, it just looks like a 5, minus an 80, that turns into a negative 76. So on the bottom over here, I have a negative 76. So I know that 2 goes into 10, 20, and negative 76. Actually, I could reduce each by a negative 2. So I'm going to divide each of these terms, this 10, this 20, and the negative 76, by a negative 2 to get a negative 5 minus 10 root 2. I don't know why that changed. Okay. I made a little mistake. But it doesn't really, it's not a minor, it's just a minor mistake. I don't know why I wrote a 2 there. That should be a 5. I just noticed that. Anyway, okay, I apologize. A lot of you guys were probably yelling at me. Divided by 2, root 76 divided by a negative 2 is a positive 38. I just like that denominator to be positive. Okay, the last example. I just wanted to do a bunch of these with you guys because I know that they can be complicated. If you're doing with these with me in class, I'll give you guys the last 2 to kind of do on your own to see what you guys can come up with. Again, We multiply by the same number on the top and the bottom. So I keep the -2. I keep the -2. Opposite sign in the middle. Opposite sign in the middle. And then the exact same number. So I distribute. 2 gets multiplied to the 3 that's outside of the radical. Now multiplying -2 minus 3√3 times by -2 plus 3√3. First terms together, that's a +4. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it so it always is the consistent. Outside terms together, -4. I'm sorry, first terms together, outside terms together. I'm not at all focused here. That is a -6√3. Inside terms together is a negative times a negative is a +6√3. Those should cancel. And then lastly, our last terms together. So that is a negative. It's always a minus. 3 times 3 is a 9. √3 times √3 is a 3. So that simplifies. Middle terms go away to -4. Why is that negative? That should be a positive. Oh, goodness. You know what it is? It's because right now we're on Christmas break. And it's the last day of my Christmas break. So I am completely not focused. So that simplifies to a -23. I multiply by a -1 on the top and bottom, which just basically switches everybody's sign, because that negative on the 23, I don't know why it annoys me. Okay, I apologize for so many mistakes, but I caught them all. And thanks for watching my video on radical review, rationalizing denominators.